now we can attach the skirt to the yoke, and we need to insert some gather threads to the top edge here. Of course, you could also use a gather foot. So let's pop over to the sewing machine. I'm using a contrast thread for the bobbin so that it's easier to pull and know what I'm pulling, and also it's easier to get the threads out at the end when you are done and you don't accidentally cut the wrong ones. So I'm sewing about half a presser foot width from the edge for my first line, and I do that going all the way around. You want to use the largest stitch length available on your machine. It's very important. And then we're going to pull the bobbin threads later. That means that at this point you have to have the top side of the fabric, the upper side, right side facing up. And when you get to the end, you want to leave a long thread hanging. There we go. And we do the same again. We go around again, but now we go presser foot width from the stitching line that we've just done. And when we're doing our 1 centimeter seam allowance, it will lie slam bang in the middle of those two stitching lines, making it very easy to get a very even gather. Line up the edge of your presser foot on the right with the stitching line, and there we go. Leave a long thread hanging again, and now we're ready to attach this to the yoke. I also need to mark for myself the center front so I can marry this up with the center front that I've marked on my yoke. So I'm just going to use my textile marker, because if I snip into it, I might accidentally snip my threads. So I'm just using my textile marker. The key is to put these points that we've just marked together with the points we marked on the yoke, right? And that is quite simple. You just find a side one here and pop that on. So in my case, I hadn't marked it. I'd completely forgotten, but you will of course have marked it because you're very good and you listen to instructions. I'm the worst for doing that. You know, I write these beautiful instructions and then I go away and I forget, you know, what I needed to be doing. I mark this with my textile marker as well, so that, you know, I put textile marker on textile marker, and there we go. So right side's facing, I find the center front, and I'm going to pin that together. And then actually all you have to do is work your way around from snip or from mark to mark and align it on both of them. Put a vertical pin in there, and we do that before we start gathering, and that will guarantee that everything comes out really even. So I do this all the way around, and when I did this, of course, I realized that my fabric, which was only 106 centimeters wide, which is 42 inches, was not wide enough, and I went, oh no, I have to just go away, cut 2 more panels and do the whole rigmarole again. And yeah, that was a little bit arduous. I want to point out a few things here though. If you have a directional fabric, say a stripe, and you just needed to cut 4 panels in it, that you need to make sure that the center front does not have a seam lying on it. It's not really that difficult to do. We're just going to look where we are going to mark that on the yoke real quick. In that case, you really want to have your panel going across the front from the flat bit to flat bit, really. That's what you can do. You can just mark that point instead of the center point, and then that would be fine. And the rest is exactly the same. So we're going to pop back to this one now, and we're going to pull our gather threads. And you can see how brilliant that works if the gather threads are a different color to the rest of your stitching. That works really well. So now I'm just going to pull my gather threads and you can pull them straight over that pin you put in, right? And you don't lose that point. And this is going to take quite a while, so fast forward a little bit. Just going to make sure that we have enough in that area, see, and then we pull it a little bit more, let it out so that it sits really well, and then I can start distributing my gathers from side to side here. I don't do it like super tidily because I can do that on the sewing machine, but they should be fairly well spread out, and then I pin that in a few strategic places so that it's ready for the sewing machine, where I then do, like I just said, another sort of adjustment of my little gathers. Now I'm going to do the front the same, pull it and then stretch it so it fits on. Here I need to put another vertical pin in, and then I wrap my thread around in a figure of 8 so it can go nowhere and it can't get loose. There we go, wrap it around. And equally now we can distribute the gathers in here. And there we go. I've done it now all the way around. It takes a bit of time, but doesn't that look absolutely gorgeous? Really nice. Make sure I have done it pretty even Steven, and pop over to my sewing machine. We're sewing from the skirt side, of course, and now here comes the little trick. Make sure obviously it's flat underneath it. Take the pin that you're taking out, and now you start adjusting your gathers so they look really, really good. And that's what I just meant before. It's not important that when you distribute the gathers on the actual skirt before you go on the sewing machine, that's super perfect. As long as it's even, that's fine. And you do that super perfect distribution when you get on, so you realize, oh, in one area I haven't put enough gather, actually, then you can pull them over, and it's really quite simple. Just make them look really nice. The pin is fantastic for that. And again, you need to take your time, don't rush it. This will take time, but it is so good. Right, I've done it, and now it's all in, looking beautiful. Make sure that you haven't caught any of the fabric like up like that. It wants to do that, so you have to be careful with that. And now I'm going to go to the overlocker first and overlock all this together, and then afterwards I'm going to pick out my threads. The overlocker holds it together really well, so I don't want to pick out my gather threads before that. You can do, but I'm not going to do that. It's a habit. Everyone has their own habit. Make sure that everything is flat underneath it, that you don't catch any of the yoke. It's easily done. You want to be like gliding your hand underneath there with your left thumb. That needs to kind of almost feel it there and keep the fabric in place. There we go. And when you get to the end, you want to overrun a little bit. I mean, I really have a lot of volume here. I only need that for gauze. You don't need 4 meters of width for a quilting cotton or something like that. Anyway, in lightweight fabrics, it's great. So I just picked my red thread now, and that's why I love using the different color, because you can't really go wrong. You just pull those red ones, and as you can see, that actually comes out quite easily. It's not that difficult. And there we go. I've got all my threads out. Shake out that little skirt and admire your handiwork. Isn't that absolutely gorgeous? Love it. So now that that's in, we could top stitch this, or we could put some embellishment on, and I'm deciding to put some rickrack on. I just want to show you another skirt I've made where I used only 2 meters 80 across, and the gathers look almost the same. That's because the fabric with a polka dot is gauze, and when you have a firmer fabric like this, then of course the gathers will be much more pronounced, and you don't need that much to get this lovely effect. And now we're going to just sew a little bit of rickrack to the edge. I would recommend that you use a zigzag stitch. I'm using a very light zigzag stitch. It looks nicer, I think, than a straight one. Catches more of it, and you put that slam bang in the middle on top of the seam line. You can see I actually do take my time with these things. I enjoy sewing tidy greatly. It's so satisfying when it's finished and you just look at it and you think, wow, this is really pristine. It's nice. Sometimes when I'm not filming myself, I rush a bit more because I just need to get it done and I'm disappointed with myself then. So take your time and get this beautiful result. Skirt's finished and I'm absolutely loving it. Like I said, I wanted to tie it to the side. I think that is so beautiful as well. And all the little details on this will make someone very, very happy, I think. So that takes us to the end of this course. Don't forget, we have got loads more videos coming, loads more patterns every week or every other week. There's going to be another pattern for you, or combination of patterns even. And I've made a Connie crop top to match this, so you can get that in the shop as well. Thank you very much for being part on this course again, and I hope to see you soon. Bye for now.